Alright guys, so done playing with the IQR for a little bit. Got the 700 pulled back in. And I think it's time we give it a little bit of new life. So we're going to go ahead and get busy putting the top end back together on this thing. Alright, so here she is. It was sitting outside. So not only did I have the sled under a tarp, but went ahead and covered the motor with a towel. So I guess you can say that's a shop towel now. Gonna pull this base gasket off and remove the piston. One thing I did do, I pulled the recoil just to make sure that my little Kirby belt was still there. And if you're not familiar with that, this spins not only my coolant pump but my oil pump as well. I'm kind of going through everything. I did notice my carb boots are not in the best shape, even though I just checked them not too long ago. You can see they're kind of not real happy, so I'm going to go ahead and replace those. And I noticed my oil is pretty low. I topped it off not too long ago. Not sure if I'm leaking oil or not, but I'm going to put a drill or something. Usually I use a drill. I'm gonna try to figure out a different way so I can use something that's corded. And yeah, rotate this. When I do that, I gotta have this pulled up so it actually pumps oil. But I'm going to do that, pull the oil lines from my crankcase and just verify, be 100% sure that this thing is properly pumping oil. So let's get into it. So here's my question. I've never done this before, but I've actually heard of people doing it recently. These metal base gaskets, I've heard of people, as long as the black coating isn't ripped off them, actually reusing these. I've never done it. I've always replaced them. However, I really much prefer these metal ones. As you can see, my cases are pretty much perfectly clean. All the material stayed on here, whereas a paper gasket rips up, it's stuck to the cylinder, stuck to the cases, and they're a pain in my ass. I went to Polaris, I bought a genuine OEM pure Polaris gasket, and it's paper. I've never had a paper 700 gasket from Polaris before. At the same time, I bought gaskets for my 800, which are metal, just like this. So, I mean, it's so tempting to slap this back in there, maybe throw a little copper coat on it. You know, just copper coat. Hell, you can make a steel shim back to this gasket. Chevy's did it forever. But, yeah, I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that? I ran into an issue. So as you guys know, this is the king of budget build motors. I've always kept this motor as cheap as possible. Last time I rebuilt it, I had $70 into it, okay? Now, the issue is, I always, I don't know, in this specific motor, I always use used parts. Pistons, rings, bearings, everything except for gaskets and seals is used on this motor. Always has been, probably always will be. Don't know why, that's just the way it is. I don't have any used pistons that I'm super happy with that are just laying around. So, problem there is, I'll probably end up having to come over and start tearing some of my other motors down. Like this one I already tore down. Not real happy with, I don't know, something's tight in the bottom end. That one, don't really know the story behind it. It ran like 5 years ago. It's just sat around ever since. And no, I'm not going to swap the motor. I'm going to keep this motor in here. do another budget rebuild on it. Bottom end's fucking perfect on it. Everything's great. This needs a piston. And cylinder, obviously. This one, mag side's blown up. PTO I had just recently rebuilt. That's the one I'm probably going to tear apart because the Vest 700 and non-Vest 700 use identical pistons. So I'm probably going to put that good piston in this motor with a random cylinder. I kind of wish I would have got two base gaskets because I don't think I have any good 824 cylinders left. So I'm going to run an 824 here and a 220 there. Oh my God, the porting is a little different. Nobody will ever know. You would never know except for the fact I just told you. People have been mix matching these cylinders since the beginning of time, pretty much. So, yeah. I mean, think you bought this sled brand new. You had 220s. You blow it up. You know what? Polaris doesn't sell you 220. They sell you an 824. Just the way it is. So, yeah. But then that got me thinking about my orange sled. I'm getting ready to go through it. I have these brand new RK Tech. Also, they don't manufacture their own piston. These are actually Wasner pistons. They're actually really high quality. The only issue is I can't tell if this is for a big block, it's for a CFI, if it's a direct replacement, or if it's a fix-it kit piston. I don't know. These came with the IQR. I assume they're for a big block. I assume they're a direct replacement. But I'm not going to throw those in the orange sled without knowing for sure. I was just going to regasket the 800 in the orange Pro XR, but then I remembered I have these brand new, beautiful pistons sitting here. And if I have any sled in my fleet that I feel deserve brand new pistons, it is 100% going to be the orange Pro XR. So, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the XC, but let's all be honest. The orange Pro XR is the shit. So, I need a piston before I can continue. I mean, I can prime the fuel oil system and make sure everything's flowing oil, but until I start tearing other shit apart, which will probably be that motor over there, and steal the piston, throw this one back together, you know, I might as well just do it, because I don't want to buy a piston for this sled. I know. Oh my god, he's putting new stuff in there. He didn't even re-ring it. This thing ripped with used parts for quite a while. So, and it's not the motor's fault that it died. It was either, man, I can't stress that enough. The used parts did not make this sled blow up. It was either bad fuel or too low octane or too much timing with the pipes and everything, because that's something you got to think about. Although it might have a stock head, with the twin pipes, they have better reverberation, which even though the cranking compression is the same, the running compression with twin pipes is actually higher. You won't see that on a gauge, but it's just two-stroke science mystery shit that people don't think about. So it needs a good quality fuel in it, and I had straight 90 with a little bit of premix in it, and that wasn't enough, so popped the piston. So, you know, maybe I could just take a piece of sandpaper, just buff this one out just a little bit, and just send this fucker again. Little JB Weld right in there. Now we're talking. Alright guys, so I got my drill out and I was spinning up my pump, checking for oil flow. This is through this hose right here specifically. That's one to the crankcase here on the mag side. I was getting pretty much no oil from my oiling system. Tried another pump, getting a bunch of oil. I mean, just like way more oil. So I started tearing my oil pump apart. Look at all that. See all those little specks? That's metal from the inside of my oil pump. And look how dirty it is in there. It's gnarly, gross. So I'm about to empty that out into this towel here. That's now the shop towel. And yeah, so pretty much my oil pump took a crap. And the only thing that honestly kept this motor alive as long as it did was the fact that there's some premix in my tank. I don't know how long this has been failed. It worked when I put the motor together because I primed it up, just like I always do with my drill. But I mean, it's hard to tell because I've been running a pretty good premix amount in my tank up until the day I went racing. And the reason that is because I had maybe that much in there, premixed pretty decent, and I put another 2-3 gallons in my tank that day that was just straight gas that was not premixed. So it diluted my mixture out. And yeah, I'm not gonna say this is entirely at fault, but I'm just finding all sorts of stuff wrong with the 700 right now. But it's all gonna get remedied. It's all gonna go back together. It's all gonna be all right. Okay, so this is the piston I'm going to use. Despite how it looks, it is actually very smooth. The scoring is not dug into the metal. This is a Elco, which is the original piston to a 700. No damage to it, so we're just going to go ahead and send it with this old used piston because I don't have anything new, and quite frankly, I just don't feel like throwing some cheap aftermarket shit in here. I trust a old used piston that's OEM over a new aftermarket junk piston. A lot of controversy over that. Don't care. This is still in good shape. We're gonna run it. Finally, a lucky break. Man, I've been digging through all my parts. I got a pile of usable 220 cylinders over there, and I thought all my 824 cylinders were destroyed. And I really didn't want to mix match cylinders. It's not a big deal, but I just personally like to have matching ones with the same porting. Yes, you can mix and match them. It'll run perfectly fine. But I finally found a matching 824 cylinder in good usable condition. It's just really gross. I mean, it's like really gross. So I got to get this thing cleaned up before we get her all lubed up and everything slapped down. But I don't know. I thought I didn't have any more 824s. And I thought about pulling both the cylinders and putting 220s on it. However, for what I'm going for is kind of like the lake racer, whatever type deal. You know, just all out ripping. And the 824s, believe it or not, make more peak horsepower than the 220. 220 is a great short blast, you know, the short straights, whatever. But the 824s run about 200-300 more RPM than the 824s run more than a 220 as far as RPM goes. They don't have the same punch out of the hole. They don't have the same mid-range, but they got that just a little bit on the top end, which is kind of what I'm going for. You know, the twin pipes and everything. And let's be honest, most of the time I ride this, it's not really going to be short little blasts. I'm fucking getting after, let's get up to 100, you know. So 824 is what I'm going to run for now. And here we go. All right, so we got this gross 800 cylinder or 700 cylinder, 824. That's in good usable shape, but it's just really dirty. So I got an old set of cases sitting here, my drill with a little brush on it. We're just gonna go ham, clean this thing up. Well, Amber's home from work, so I promptly put her to work. She's scraping the old paper gasket material off the bottom of the cylinder, making sure she's being very careful, not gouging the material, right? Yeah. Cylinder looks way better. It's not perfect. Don't cut me. It's not perfect, but man, it's not caked in gnarly stuff no more completely. So that's awesome. Get this cleaned up and we can start assembly. All right, so me and Amber got this about as clean as we're gonna get her. So I got one more circlip to throw on this brand new piston, and then I guess I'm ready to drop the cylinder, start torquing stuff down. All right, so we got the cylinder installed. I put a little bit of oil down in the crank. I haven't lubed the cylinders yet, but I will. Got the new head gaskets on both sides. I was sitting here contemplating with Amber if I should go ahead and just do the aftermarket head setup right now, but honestly I want to fix everything else, get this thing running, and you know, God forbid I do end up grenading this thing, you know, right off the bat because I missed something, which I shouldn't. I'm going through pretty much everything, but if I do, I would much rather take out a stock head, even though I have spare domes. But you know, yeah, progress. Unfortunately, you guys are gonna have to wait until the next video to see any more progress on this thing. It's getting pretty late at night, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut down, head inside, get cleaned up, get ready to eat some food. So next video, we're getting this fucker running.